Good morning and welcome to today's webcast, Improve Engagement, Profit, and Sustainability with Analytics. Before we begin, I'm going to play a brief housekeeping video.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us. We're pleased to present another in our ongoing series of continuing professional education webcasts to help companies and individuals conquer challenges as they plan for what's next. Our presentation will start in a few moments. Before we begin, here are a few things to keep in mind. You can customize how you both view our presentation and interact with the presenter. For better viewing, close all other applications and turn up your speaker volume. You can also adjust window size and placement or enter full screen mode using the controls at the top of the window or dragging the bottom right-hand corner to resize. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a series of icons, each relating to a different aspect of our session. You can download the group attendance sheet and a PDF copy of today's slides from the slide deck and handouts widget to the right of the slide view. You can ask our presenter questions during the webcast by typing a question in the Q&A window below the slide view and clicking submit. We'll do our best to answer all questions during the presentation or follow up via email. If you experience technical difficulty during today's presentation, refresh your browser by hitting the F5 key. Today's session will offer you 1 CPE credit. To receive credit, you must meet the requirements as specified by the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy. You must attend at least 50 minutes of the session and respond to at least 75% of the polling questions, which we'll ask throughout today's presentation. To respond to a poll, click the button next to your answer. We'll track your progress and alert you when you've earned CPE credit. You can then click the certificate icon in the CPE Progress widget to open a PDF file that you can save to your computer. Don't worry if you can't download your PDF certificate today. We'll email a copy to you in 2 weeks. If you're attending this webcast in a group, you must complete our attendance sheet to receive CPE credit. The attendance sheet is available in the slide deck and handouts widget. Please have all group members sign it and send only 1 sheet per group. Also note that CPE credit can be awarded only to participants registered as themselves and isn't available to participants who view the on-demand version. As a reminder, the presentation you're about to see isn't legal, investment, or accounting advice. We encourage you to seek the counsel of a professional service provider to apply this content to your specific circumstances.
And with that, I will turn it over to Frank to get us started.
Great. Thank you, Emily. It's Frank Kaufman. I'm the Retail National Practice Leader for Moss Adams, and joining me today for the presentation will be Darin Goehner and Francis Tam, also Moss Adams partners, spending a lot of time in retail. So we'll get going. Pretty excited. We have nearly 500 people on the line listening in, and as I look at the attendee list, in addition to the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and as far away as London, Hong Kong, and Australia. So thank you, everybody, for joining. We will move pretty rapidly. You can see from the list here today what we have in the topic area to be covered. And we will, as we go through, we'll make sure we save time for your questions. You saw in the video how to submit a question, and we'll do our best to answer all of those. Okay, so let's get going. First, I always like to start off with kind of level set of dollars that we're talking about. So the retail, and this is the U.S., is $2.6 trillion in GDP. And, to put that in perspective a little bit, if you look at 2019, total retail is actually up 2.1%, which is $55 billion. And as you can see here, online is now 12%. If you break up the components of retail, what we found for 2019 is actually the traditional bricks and mortar spaces total sales volume dropped by 0.8% or 21 billion. And as we might expect, digital is up almost 13% or $76 billion. You can see here a bit of the information. We'll get into Amazon a bit later, but Amazon is just about half in 2018, and you'll see in 19, we think it's actually 50-50 at this point as far as digital purchasing going through Amazon. If we look at the close of Q4, you can see good holiday sales growth. So we'll talk next about some of the headlines and the sort of the negatives, but the reality is, I want to level set here, retail is still trending up. Here are the rocky things, as you can see, records as far as physical store closures for 2019, 9,300 stores. And you can see some of the big names that are involved here. And you just recently, Pier 1 Imports filed. And we're seeing more of sort of this, hey, we're going to cut stores, and then all of a sudden a filing. And I don't know, because recently we saw some announcements as far as Macy's and what is coming there, and I'm not prognosticating that Macy's is going out of business. It's just, the cuts that happen, the first cuts I won't say are easy, but they're a little bit more obvious, and then you start cutting, some meat off the bone here. So just know that in total, people are still spending dollars and they're available for you. So what do we see? What is driving the people that are winning? And you'll see here we talk about frictionless. So whether it's traditional bricks and mortar or digital, or most likely a combination of all of the omni-channel, you need to make it easy for the consumer. A lot of purchases are happening through the phone, or at least the shopping is happening through the phone, and it needs to be smooth. The experience, once you get them into the stores, has to be entertaining, has to have a reason as to why they're coming to the stores. And one of the things that's driving a lot of that, frankly, it's pretty interesting because I didn't think it was intuitive that a few years ago when retailers implemented the concept of buying online and going to pick up in the store, for whatever reason, it just, to me, didn't seem like that was the convenient way. I'd rather have it delivered to my doorstep. But there clearly is a movement to do this. You see it in the parking lots with the allocated spaces. The stores love it because when all of you are able to get in front of those customers, you're able to drive the average transaction size and unit purchases up. So some of the things that are trending upward. So I think, Darin, you're going to take over on this one, yeah?
Yeah, so that leads us to talking about more of the offline and digital blend and what does the successful retailer of the future look like. And really it's reshaping what is your perspectives of your stores. What do they look like, right? And so we think there's four main perspectives that need to be taken, and some of these might be a mind shift, some of them might not for you on the phone. The first is strategic, right? What's the human connection and the ease that we are getting with using our brick and mortar stores, from customer acquisition to fulfillment centers, right? Are we using them in a different way than we've historically used them from a strategic standpoint? Second perspective is operational. Are we fully integrated? Are we using all the technology as a foundation to blend both the digital and the offline world as far as pricing, workforce management, and availability of product? The last thing we want is our online or our digital saying that we have product, people come into our stores and it not being there. There's nothing more that creates frustration for our customers than that. So we need to make sure we're operationally sound and blending those perspectives across digital as well as offline. Financial, this is really for some of you on the phone. You might be in the financial world, CFOs, controllers, et cetera. And really it's relooking at what are we measuring our stores on. Historically it's been sales per square foot. I don't know if we can look at that anymore. And now we need to look at what's our new KPIs. What's the supply chain management? What's the shipping efficiency? Meaning, can we do same day shipments to people that are in or next day? And what are the conversion rates? Are we converting on people that we're bringing in, just like Frank said, on a BOPIS method? And then the customer, right? It's all about creating experiences for the customer. Is it frictionless? Is it convenient for them? Is it personalized? Is it entertaining? We'll talk a little bit more about that further down our presentation. Is what are those experiences that we can create in the brick and mortar? And that'll lead us actually into our first polling question. I'll turn it over to Emily to walk us through that.
All right, thank you. Our first polling question: in 2020, which of the following areas will you invest? A, brick and mortar, B, e-commerce, C, AI or analytics, D, associates, E, cybersecurity, or F, other. And I'll give everyone a few moments to respond. To participate in our polls today, please click the button next to the answer you choose and hit submit. And if you have any issues seeing the poll, you may try refreshing your browser. I'll give everyone a few more seconds here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the results. Back to you. I think you may be on mute.
No, I'm just processing because it's very interesting to me, because frankly we think all of these are important areas, and it's very interesting. I think clearly, as I said at the outset, the e-commerce platform is the most rapidly growing, yet let's not remember that, $8 out of $9 or 9 out of $10 are in the stores. So don't forget about that. Also, along those lines, the associates, stores that are winning the battle as far as what's being processed once you're in a store, your average units or the value per unit are oftentimes driven by educated associates giving highlights and things of that nature. So it's just very interesting to me. The e-commerce isn't surprising, but I would like to see a little bit more kind of moving a little bit to the right in the associates category. Just food for thought. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to dive into what other is, but that would be interesting. If any of you want to make comments on that, feel free, just like you can with the submission of questions. So here's an interesting quote. I think everybody's familiar with Nordstrom's, and what you see here is talk about being in front of the customer. And so kind of dovetailing off of the discussion I just had about your associates are the ones that are in front of the customer. Make that investment. At the same time, the reality is, if I asked all the people on the phone, I would say less than 2% would tell me that they can't grab their phone from where they're sitting currently. So you need to think about how you're communicating there. And for those of you in the 2% that aren't grabbing your phone, it's because you have a smartwatch instead of the phone now. So just think about the messages that you're presenting, and you're always in front of the customer. Let's get back into a little bit what we talked about. This is the pie, and we can see. And a lot of times I have people asking me about Amazon. Are they friend or are they foe? I'll argue that they are a friend, and that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. In this case, let's call it 6% of the overall retail market, that if you're not finding a way there, you're opting out. So I'm not sure that's a good idea. However, that you'll see later, we have some ideas as to how to make that fruitful. Another thing to think about is actually how you're collecting money, right? So cash is still out there, but it's not as dominant as these others, as the debit cards and credit cards. And if you think of the group, and we'll talk to the components of Gen Z and Millennials in a minute, the Venmo is something that's very common, and I don't know if I should admit this or not, but even our Super Bowl pool, people were paying through Venmo. So it's very much a part, as you can see, 40 million users. Alipay, you can see the different components. One of the ones that is not as widespread, but is, as you can see, growing quite a bit, are things like Afterpay and Zip, and maybe a lot of you are familiar, some may not be, but basically it acts like a credit card, but there's specific payments that are made, usually 1/3 or 1/4 upon purchase, and then the remaining gets 2 or 3 payments inside of 6 to 8 weeks. Why is this interesting? Because a lot of the Gen Z and Millennials like this for a couple of reasons. They don't have to apply for a credit card. There's no credit reporting. It sounds a little scary. Oh my gosh, how are they doing it? This is sort of pioneered in Australia, and it's been a huge success, and it's growing here very rapidly. A neat component of this is it sort of creates a mental budget for the user of this card. That's okay, let's say I'm going to spend $200 on something, and it's $50 and 3 more payments of $50. So at every other week. So 6 weeks out, I'm going to go spend another $200, and it's almost this annuity that gets developed, which I think most retailers would be very interested in.
All right, our next polling question: what payment types does your business accept? And your options are A, Venmo, B, PayPal, C, Alipay, D, Apple Pay, E, 2 or more of the above, F, all of the above, or G, none of the above. As a reminder, if you would like to receive CPE credit for today's webcast, you will need to respond to at least 3 of the 4 polling questions. And I'll give everyone a few more seconds on this one. And let's go ahead and take a look at the results. Frank, back to you.
Okay. Well, that's quite interesting. The none of the above. I would love to understand why. Maybe it goes back to the earlier slide where the highest dollars being invested on a go-forward basis or in e-commerce, and maybe that's what you're all doing, which is the investing so that you can get off of the none of the above. You will see increasingly more and more and more dollars going through these channels. For those of you in category F, all 2% of you, congrats, you're winning the game.
Yeah, so we'll shift a little bit in talking about how we pay to what customer expectations are. What we found and heard is customers pick retailers due to 3 reasons: relevance, product, and price, in that order. So the importance of what products are we offering, are they relevant to our people, to our customers, to our target market, and then obviously having the right product for them. It's interesting that kind of the new customization of things is we put in here the Marriott model of Marriott has room for possibility, quote unquote, which is trying to blend the best of both worlds, blend the best of travel and blend the best of your home, and trying to create that unique place where you feel comfort. And the other, interesting trend that started years and years ago with showrooming, right? Less inventory, which is great from an inventory carrying perspective. But the bigger piece now is showrooming with a unique customer experience. So think of Peloton. They have a couple bikes and a couple treads, and you go in there and you experience it. You have an experience that you run through. Someone walks you through. Or think of Tesla. They have 4 demo cars and 3 sitting in the showroom that you sit and walk in and go through. So, obviously these are 2 higher end brands that are leading the way in terms of showrooming and creating a unique customer experience while they're at it. Interesting stats on what people view superior client service and what it actually is. And the biggest one on the left you can see is 80% of organizations think they're delivering a superior experience, but only 8% of customers believe that they're receiving a great experience. So massive, massive gap, reality versus perceived gap there. And the more we can bridge that gap, the better off we'll be, because as you can see in the middle left, 95% of customers tell about their bad experience. I'm hoping more than 5% talk about their good experiences. The key of offering a great experience, as you all know on this call, is more conversion, right? 58% of customers with an excellent experience will buy more. And it'll be 3 to 10 times bigger. So all these, again, everyone on the phone call is well aware of, but just reinforcing the experience is key. And I think the biggest thing is the gap. How do we close the gap in that 80 versus 8 experience? One of the ways to do it is to not just think about your offline stores, your digital presence as an experience, but how are you creating micro experiences within those? You can read through all the bullet points on here, but I'll give you a couple examples. Rituals, basically you come in, you get a cup of tea, you slow down. It's an escape from your day-to-day life, right? It's a way to slow down and shop at your pace. Another example is Nordstrom's, right? Integrating drinking wine and being able to relax while shopping in the store, and I'm sure alcohol always helps with conversion rates as well. So thinking of not only your retail presence, but what's happening inside those retail presences. And I will say, I think on the phone call today, we have a lot of brands as well. And so I think this is important to think about. If you're a brand, how are you working into those micro experiences? Or how are you creating those micro experiences for that retailer that's selling your brand? How can you help them be better at micro experiences that are creating an oasis or a different shopping experience for people? We can never forget the power of the employee. The key is we need to have them have all the information that the customer has, right? Customers have it in their hands now with their phones, and how do we arm our employees with that same technology and tools and knowledge, if not more? And the other thing, the overarching of all these bullet points, is how are they building connection? Right? There's only so much connection we can have with a phone, with a transaction, with digital sales, but person to person, and we'll get to this in a slide, really creates a connection and an emotional buying power that anyone in the digital space doesn't have. So how are your employees spending the time to connect with customers versus stocking shelves or searching for answers? So, turn it over to Frank.
All right. So, what Darin was just talking about of connecting with the customers and the brands, it's really interesting when you want to try and get in front physically of a customer. The retail proposition, if you're just starting to roll out stores, it can be very expensive. You're not geared for it. So here are a few showroom models. I visited all 3 of these last month in New York, and they have some common links but some differences, and we'll go through them. So basically, conceptually, picture a physical space that allows multiple brands to present their products. And this is New York City, so depending on the size of the space you're going to take within the full space, you could be anywhere from $1,000 a month to $15,000 a month, and your commitment is more like a pop-up shop kind of 2 to 6 month time frame. It's not 3 to 5 year leases, and so it's sort of an in and out. A lot of people are using it for testing, but some of the interesting parts are, depending on which way you go, you can get maybe, like, let's say a 10-foot by 10-foot square location, which is built out in sort of 3 walls, and it's like your mini store. And there's a representative there that's fully educated on your product. And as the people walk from section to section, they come into yours, and you have somebody there that is a little bit like sort of the shop in shop that was done in some of the department stores where the brand is actually putting somebody there, but you don't have the same kind of commitment, but the people are there and they're there for the full time that the store is open, which is not always the case. So Showfields is the first one that's represented here in mentally. If you picture Showfields, it's 4 levels. There's an elevator, but most people are going up and down the stairs, and you go to these different sections. And I think they do a pretty good job of curating as you walk through the sections, so that the sort of the product, you don't feel like you in an auto parts store and then you're in a bedding store and then you're in, it's not real hard transitions. And speaking of a transition, what's absolutely fun is they have this little secret door that you can go through, and you literally go down a slide, which is not a water slide, but kind of picture going down a water slide from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor. So makes it a little fun. Beta, which is the next one on here, is generally 1 level. You see them in the mall environments quite a bit, and they're probably the most rolled out as far as numbers of locations of the 3 that are here. It's almost entirely technology. They did have literally 2 racks that had clothing on them, but other than that, it was technology. And if you're sitting at a desk today, you probably have 5 different products on what would be sort of a normal desk. So it's a little crowded. They do have people running around explaining. There's iPads there you can order there, and they do have some inventory. My takeaway there, and I don't have stats on this company, it looked like it was more the entertainment factor and less of closing of sales, which wasn't as much as obviously the target, but you do get a lot of customer feedback automatically. And the last one I visited was Neighborhood Goods, and this is similar in some of the concepts, but also fairly unique, where they actually have like a counter where you can have lunch. It's adjacent to a very popular shopping location in New York, so they get tremendous amount of foot traffic. The range of products are pretty incredible, and I think they've done a great job in giving you an avenue to get your product out there. And like I said, usually retail or real estate, we talk about location, and this one, what I would say is location, and then in-store location. So you can select where you want to be. You can be placed near the front door, you can be placed near the food section. So they're all great testing sites, and so we just want to make you aware of those places. You can certainly go online and see what's out there. It's a sort of an old concept, showrooming, but they're doing it in a much more advanced way. All of them have the ability to sell product digitally while you're there. There's another different spin, which we call Eventizing, which is sort of like the micro experiences. Couple that we became aware of, we thought were fairly unique. One is the camp, and the camp is a kids call it toy store mostly, and they have plenty of places to run around. The kids can play. There's an area where they do arts and crafts, and they have babysitting service. So parents are doing date night, drop their kid off, and obviously they're compelled when they pick up their kid to buy whatever toy they've been playing with. So pretty effective concept. They also employ in a lot of their stores these secret passageways into all these games and things, which are it just makes it a really neat experience. The one above, Network, that is obviously throwing out some pretty incredible numbers. If you could drive people to your site and keep them there for 5 or 6 minutes, they're going to sell big time dollars, and you can see the conversion rates here on the low side, 5 to 15%. That's I don't know, if we get a 2% conversion rate, a lot of times we're pretty happy. So you pick it 3 to 7 times the effect. And so what are they doing? They're having, it's a little bit like the influencer model, but they're having celebrities talk about the product, but in an environment where they're using it. There's music, there's other things that are going on to make it entertaining. So it's a snippet to go visit that happens to sell product.
So as Frank was just talking about, influencers are important to any business, especially social media and driving people to your stores and your products. It really comes down to the who. Is that person reflecting the values that we want in our store or our brand? Are they doing the things that are going to attract our customers? And you always have to look out for, are they going to make a dumb decision at some point, because everything's being recorded these days, right? So influencers can definitely be an advantage if thought out and representative of your brand. The how. Or do we do it by video, right? Do we do long videos? Do we do short TikToks that are meeting the Gen Z generation? And then how many people? Is it as important to reach X thousands of followers, or is it more important to reach a targeted number of followers who are actually going to convert to sales and be brand ambassadors? So really the thought process is, I think a lot of times we look and we say, how many people can we reach? When in reality, it's, are we reaching the right people that are going to convert and have a change? And a lot of these influencers affect the next topic, which is strange for accountants and consultants to talk about, which is emotional economy and human interaction. And really the takeaway from this piece here, you can read the words on the slide, but really it comes down to, we live in a connected world, but connected is not equaling connection, right? People are coming to stores because they want human connection. They are FaceTiming because they want human connection. The social media and the posts are not necessarily reality, and the next generations that are coming up are seeing a disconnect between the reality of reality and the perception of what's on social media. And so what we're finding in the emotional economy world is people want to feel connected. They want to be surrounded by the calm people in their life and rediscovering quality and value, which is kind of a change from the baby boomers and the Gen Xers who want the next thing and the next thing and ready to move on.
Okay, so let's jump back into the half of the e-com world, or Amazon. So about 300 million Amazon app users, of which half of them are paying for Prime, which we're hearing that those dollars, the cost for Prime might be going up soon to sort of offset the free delivery and that kind of thing. At some point, I think that they're going to be questioned on that, but I really don't think it's going to make much of a difference. People are going to buy in because it's become part of the life. Why? All 4 of the active generations that are buying out there feel that of all brands, you can call Coca-Cola, you can call Mercedes, whatever you want, Amazon was voted the best brand in each of these 4 generations. It's amazing. So you can see the dollars here that they're doing. I'll read you a one-day, this is a one-day volume of sales last year. Amazon sold 100,000 laptops, 200,000 TVs, 300,000 headphones, 350,000 beauty products, and 1 million toys one day. Okay? So they can be your partner. Really, what we're looking at here is how are they doing it? So whether you're competing or emulating, one of the things that is real key is to think about the retail organization structure. And if you think about it, most organizations there's a silo for IT, human resources, operations, merchandising, e-commerce. There's heads of each of those groups. Well, what we're saying is you need to move that to leaders. Okay, if you're going to have a buy online, pick up in store, that crosses all of the silos I mentioned before. So you need a leader in charge of a process rather than how it's traditionally been done. So you can see some of the other things that are going on, but basically is how are we going to deliver product to the customer, and then we all work together in multidisciplinary groups. That's applicable for online, that's applicable for bricks and mortar. So,
in working with Amazon, the must-haves, you want to have Prime eligible products. They're a key factor in being competitive in the marketplace. You want high-quality content, titles, images, bullets, A+ content, because that's what's driving the hits. One thing that's recommended is enrolled in brand registry. It unlocks contents and features and ad types. And then reviews. A lot of people talk about reviews. You want reviews. You want quantity. More specifically, you want quality. And it's smart if there are reviews that are poor to respond immediately. Not common that you have to respond to every single review that's on there, but you should definitely respond to those that are critical of the product and discuss what's being done about it. That takes us to our next polling question. Emily?
All right, our third polling question, how does your company leverage Amazon to sell products? And your options are A, we sell directly on Amazon, B, fulfillment by Amazon, FBA, C, Amazon Web Services user, D, all of the above, E, we don't interact with Amazon currently, but would like to in the future, or F, we don't interact with Amazon currently and don't intend to in the future. And for those of you that would like a copy of today's slide deck, you can download them now from the folder that says Slide Deck and Handouts to the right of the slide view. We will also be sending the slides via email after the webcast. And let's go ahead and take a look at the results. Back to you.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So what's most commonly what we get back with the I don't want to deal with Amazon are the I can't control my brand, and there are ways within there that you can, but it's clearly an opportunity. So it may not be appropriate, certain industries. I know we had a comment earlier for somebody when we were asking a question about how product is sold. They mentioned it happens to be a winery, and they mentioned that they do a lot of online, but it's direct or through traditional wine channels, I believe, or in their, at their own facility. So it's interesting. I'd love if people want to load in onto the Q&A, just comment as to why you're intending to avoid that. It would be very educational for us, because we can see for the half that don't want to, there's half that are either doing it or intend to. So interesting. So we're going to go fairly quickly. So the Gen Zs is the newest buying avenue, and the Millennials we've been hearing talk about for quite some time. Trying to highlight some of the differences, and one of the things that really stood out to me on this, which is kind of I'll let you digest this stuff first, and you can see the highlights. I'll give you just a couple seconds. You can see where Instagram and TikTok versus LinkedIn and Twitter, right? You can see some of the spending power. The Gen Z spending power is growing as they're aging a little bit into higher paying jobs. You can see they actually buy in more on the influencer marketing, but the most compelling thing I see is that Gen Z is telling us they want to go back in the stores. They talk about they're the loneliest generation, and it sounds a little bit sad. I think it's more of a disconnect from the friend standpoint, the electronic friend era. And so they want to go back in your store. And I think that should be a good thing for most of you to hear.
So we'll shift gears a little bit. So our title of the presentation is Customer-Centric, Data-Driven. And we have a quote up here. I'm not going to talk about this one. I like another one that says, if we have data, let's look at data. If all we have is opinions, let's go with mine. And so that's from the former Netscape CEO. And it really comes back to, if we have the data, we should be using it. In the next piece, we'll talk a little bit about the business case. This is really what everyone already knows, that we need to optimize what we've been collecting. How do we sort it? How do we make big data, small data, and make it relevant so we can empower, motivate our staff, or position our products in the right place? That's what these bullet points say on this slide. And we're running a little bit late on time, so this is the business case that you all probably understand. Now we're going to shift into a little discussion about AI, facial recognition, et cetera.
Thanks, Darin, for the transition. So this is Francis. AI is a very good buzzword for the last few years. A lot of people have heard of this term already. It's nothing new, but I think this is getting more and more pervasive. A lot of people are applying it a lot more. So for the people who haven't heard about AI, artificial intelligence, so this is kind of like a term that we have actually for many years. When I was doing programming, I actually did a chess game to use AI. Basically, it's just using progressive learning algorithms to allow the computer to learn from the data itself. Whereas in the past, currently a lot of the applications, they are only making one decision, and then somebody, a human being, has to learn from that decision, the data, and then make another decision. So AI is nothing more than replacing some of the human decisions analysis with a machine. So it is estimated in 2021, AI augmentation will create $2.9 trillion of business value. Why is this getting higher and higher? Well, our goal, the retailers, is we'll try to make decisions supply information for the consumers as quickly as possible so that they can make decisions quicker and buy merchandise quicker. So I think that's a goal, so that the consumers can be better and more timely informed and make more decisions in purchasing goods. So that's the main goal. There are several benefits, as you can imagine, using AI, including improved customer service, better data collection, supply chain management, because the information will be collected, disseminated a lot quicker, as you can imagine. So Lowe's has a Lowbot, help customer find an item. So the robots actually are not just going to say, hey, what are you looking for, and give you, this is the location of it, but maybe do some AI will actually anticipate what you're going to look for because of the item you're looking for. Walmart, same thing. They're going to use AI to identify items that are not put into a shopping bag but are not yet scanned. So that, right now they are using about this AI in about 1,000 stores to reduce product shrinkage and improve customer safety. Neiman Marcus, the mobile app, snap.find.shop, allows the customers to take a picture of the item using the smartphone while in the app, and the app will scan its inventory to find out, hey, do you have the product where it can be bought? If it is not, is there a similar product? And they can make suggestions accordingly. Sephora help customers find the right product as well as teach them how to use the items. So in the past, that could be different things that may be more involving different applications and whatnot, but the AI will enable that feature, will allow the users to try different looks, create it with a selected makeup product and all the stuff. So, again, AI is really replacing a lot of the customer, a lot of the human decisions so that you can make your decisions inform better and make your decisions a lot quicker. Pizza Hut customers, they can place track orders, see the latest discounts and everything, have the chatbot integrated with the payment options to make it much easier for the users to pay. So you can see the AI has a lot of different applications. Robots. Well, again, another enabler for the retailers, right? A lot of the time these days when you walk into the airport, when you walk into a store, you're going to see a robot roaming the floor. And why is that good? Well, if you read here, giant food stores is using the robots to search grocery store floors for hazardous materials. Hey, you have a broken glass here, you have a spilled fruit here, to alert customers and employees. Imagine if you have to replace that with a human being, how many people you have to hire to walk up and down the aisle. And as you can imagine, a robot is tireless. They can work 24/7, and that would be a good thing, right? You only have to plug it in, and it will run. Pizza Hut, it uses Pepper the robot to greet customers, and over 12,000 Peppers have been deployed, and their usage range from serving ice cream, assisting customers, and even dancing. So you can see the robots is getting to be a bigger and bigger part of the retail business. Best Buy, I think I've seen one of these before in the store in Pasadena. They use a robo-cashier, allowing the selected locations to operate 24/7. So this is, again, going back to the robot, is not a human being. They can be deployable. They can be working 24/7 as long as they have the power. So this is a great thing to have. Facial recognition. So I think a lot of these things, this particular feature has been deployed already. In the past, we have already talked about when you walk into a store, a lot of these stores already have beacons, detectors, whatever you call it, on top of the ceiling. When you walk in, they can detect, okay, what is your gender, what is your nationality, what is your, maybe even weight, gender, all the above, right? So that they can push coupons, they can push products to you if you're connected to their application. Integrating facial identity to transform customer experiences is not new, but it's evolving. So it's getting more and more applicable. It's getting more and more widely used. Facial recognition offers elevated service as customers can be recognized as soon as they enter the store. So that's very key, because when you walk into a store, they want to make sure that they recognize who you are. If they can recognize you, well, we can talk about some of the privacy issues in a bit. They can tell who you are, and then maybe even recognizing your emotion when you look at a certain product. They can track your eyeball movement, which one are you looking at, so that they can place some of the items in a more conspicuous location so that you can, shop these, buy these products quicker. Studies show that customers' loyalty and experiences improve with facial recognition. That's understandable, because now as a retailer, you are pushing these products, informing the customers, hey, we have a new product, and we can tell you actually like it, because, of course, you're not going to tell them. We can track your eyeball movement. We can track your smiling. You're happy when you see the product, so that you can push maybe more coupons to these folks. Facial recognition can be also integrated with a wide variety of tools, such as customer relationship management tool, loyalty systems, point of sales, all of the above, right? So as you can imagine, if you've seen one of these products, when you walk in, they actually identify, a number of areas, 1,000, they call it recognition points on your face and your body. And then from those, they can integrate with your, for example, point of sale system, what you're looking at before you even walk in, before you even walk out. They can tell what you're buying. If you're happy with that, they don't even have to do a survey anymore, right? Augmented reality is, again, you've probably heard of the term virtual reality. So I'm not going to read through these things, these different applications line by line. The main difference between VR, virtual reality, and augmented reality is virtual reality is in most cases, they are all computer graphics. They are all computer-generated graphics. They're not real. So they may be emulating the actual picture, but most of it are not real. So augmented reality is actually a mixture, a combination of both. So in some cases, like, okay, maybe I use a third bullet as an example. When you walk into an IKEA store, you can actually take a picture of your room and then superimpose the products from IKEA into your room, so that you can almost see a semi-close enough to the reality picture of your living room, for example, with that couch that IKEA is selling onto into your living room. So that's kind of like an augmented reality. So as you can imagine, this could have a very good application. Instead of 100% computer graphics, virtual reality, augmented reality is giving the consumers a little bit better picture of what could be applicable from your products into their living room, their environment, right? So this is a great thing that you may want to consider. Another term is kind of coming into the picture of 2019, 2020 now, headless commerce. This is a very funny term because a lot of the folks that, if you're not an IT guy, you may say, what does that mean, right? And I think Darin talked about micro experiences before. This has nothing to do with that, actually. So the traditional e-commerce was conducted on a more monolithic platform. The platform lumps a lot of things, for example, business logic, inventory management, content management, a lot of different applications, databases, whatever you call it, under one roof. As you can imagine, if you make a change, what is a change? It could be, hey, I want to integrate a new IoT. I want to integrate a new omnichannel. Guess what you have to do? Because all these different platforms you are lumping together under the same roof, you have to make a change, and that change has to be rippled throughout the entire environment. And that change can potentially change into a several million-dollar project. Well, here comes the headless platform. The head is more the presentation layer, okay? So it could be a website, could be an application, and then it is decouple, remove, disconnect, detach from the back end. So these days, if you heard of APIs, application programming interface, is a way that different, we call it microservices, not related to micro experiences. Again, it's a term within some of the cloud environment that you can design, hey, I want to have this channel, I want to have this kind of function within this microservice, I'm going to have this function in another microservice. By doing that, you actually can make it very easy for them to connect to the virtual head, the presentation layer. So as you add to your front end, it could be a new content management platform, it could be a new CRM, could be a new inventory management system. You don't have to do a lot of changes. All you have to do is provide that API and then connect to the headless commerce platform, and then off you go. So it's a lot cheaper, a lot more economical than a traditional model. So the last bullet here, so this is very true because of the way that's designed. As we, in this day and age, a lot of our products are based on the IoT, Internet of Things, whether it's a smartwatch, whether it is a tablet, whether it is the monitor, the kiosk within your on your refrigerator, right? So you can add all these platforms a lot easier comparing to the traditional model. So hopefully that makes sense because, again, I'm not trying to turn you into an IT expert today, but hopefully this will give you and your IT people some of the things that, coming, and they're getting more and more widely used these days. Okay, so we talked about all these enablers very quickly earlier. Now on the flip side, because with all these enablers, you're making the experience of your consumers very easy to work with all these things and getting more information. Now, because of that, you're also creating a cybersecurity concern, right? Now you might have heard of GDPR in the EU. You might have heard of CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act. Well, when you're collecting all this information from, for example, facial recognition, is that going to create a concern? Well, yeah. So this is something you have to absolutely look at when you're doing all these and implementing all these enablers. So I'm not going to read through all these lines again. So recent survey estimated that organized retail crime is now costing retailers approximately about $30 billion per year. So this is a big business. A lot of people are actually making this a full-time job, as you can imagine. And then in the retail business, the two biggest concerns are POS, point-of-sale system, and card operations. Whether you have a POS system or virtual terminal on your website or people just calling, these are the two biggest threats, as you can imagine, because you touch a lot of credit cards comparing to other industries. So hackers range from different people, individuals, or organized crime or state-sponsored individuals. Lack of cybersecurity talent is also a concern because everybody is looking for this as a main thing, and all the industries are looking at, hey, I need to add more network security people. It's getting to the point that the cybersecurity talent is going to come, but they are only going to come with a premium. So this is a big concern. Companies such as Target, they are investing substantial amount of money in educational programs aiming at getting more people into this field. So that's good, but I think I can speak about this for our firm. We're always trying to hire cybersecurity folks, but they are very hard to find. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. Our final polling question: How concerned are you that your company will experience a cybersecurity attack? And A, low, B, moderate, C, high. And once you have completed all CPE requirements, you will be able to download a PDF of your CPE certificate from the CPE progress window to the right of the slide view. I'll give everyone a few more seconds here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the results. Back to you.
Great. Okay, so interesting. A lot of folks view this as a moderate concern for them. So hopefully, everybody will pay more attention to this, because as you implement more and more different solutions, enablers, I call them, you're going to open up more channels for the bad guys to come in as well, and that may be something you heavily want to consider, and hopefully that would be a bigger concern of you, and implement more safeguards per se. Over to you, Frank.
Thank you, Francis. So just before I get to the final slides here, I just wanted to mention that the question I raised about the Amazon thing, it seems as if there are a very number of reasons why not to do business. Some include we have a number of wineries on the phone. Just the volume of product that they're trying to sell, exclusivity is more important than volume and the experience. And some have raised questions about just controlling the brand. So those are what we're getting. Trying to get the screen back up on my side, Emily. I'm not sure if you see it there.
Yep. So very good comment, Frank. So over here, I want to make sure that we point out some of these big breaches in 2019. Maybe they are common, maybe they are not common with your business model, with your infrastructure, but it's good to know. So Quest, it's not a retail company. They collect medical information, and in this case, their third party suffered the breach. It's not because of them. So as a result of a breach, they have credit card numbers stolen, bank account information stolen, medical information, SSN. So watch out. The moral of that story is that watch out for your third parties. That's something you want to consider, making sure that they are safe. House, they also have a breach. These are, by the way, all public information, nothing new. Capital One, I think you might have heard that. They heavily use cloud, Singa, mobile game producer. There's a hacker that got into using the lock-in information, and that's lock-in information that actually is a popular, well-known information, so I don't know why they couldn't correct that. So the last one, Wawa, that's a convenience store chain. That 30 million record, as you can see, is not actually within the list. The other 5 are way bigger, but that 30 million is only as we know right now. They probably have the number is probably going to go up. So again, with all the things that we've learned for cybersecurity, these are the things that hopefully I call it IT hygiene. I call it is basic blocking and tackling. Change the default passwords, usernames. If you're using IoT, Internet of Things, please change all the defaults. Keep your antivirus and system software up to date. Get into the habit of patching. That's a big thing in our world, because there's no such thing as, hey, we don't want to, monthly patching is too good enough. No, daily is not good enough, but you have to kind of look at your risk appetite. Make sure you use technology wisely. Conduct vulnerability assessment, pen testing. Conduct social engineering awareness training, because humans are always the weakest link. Maintain appropriate cybersecurity insurance. Implement real-time monitoring services. And then keep the tone at the top clear. So I'm talking about CEO, CFO, the C-level people. You have to emphasize to your folks that, hey, keep your cybersecurity profile good. So that's a key thing. Over to you, Frank.
Francis, great points, things to live by. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We at Moss Adams want to think of ourselves as advisors that happen to have accountants in the firm. So a couple accounting things that everybody is being impacted now or going to be shortly. Revenue recognition, changes that implemented for all public companies, it's been a couple of years, but for the privates that are on the line here, all impacted 2019. So if you're having challenges issuing your 2019 numbers and need help, we can help you with that. And then very quickly, coming up, a monumental standard has to be implemented, go forward, starting January 1 of 2021 for your calendar year reporting entities. It's pervasive. It needs a bit of assistance, and we have the ability to help you on that. So it's been deferred. It's in play now. Think in terms of allocating a chunk of your summer to getting through this. Emily?
All right. Thank you, Frank, Darin, and Francis, for a great presentation today. We are just out of time, so we won't be able to address any questions that came in. However, you may still submit questions in the Q&A window, or you can reach out directly to any of our presenters through the speaker bio widget. As a reminder, if you attended today's presentation in a group and would like to receive CPE credit, you must complete the group attendance sheet found in the slide deck and handouts window to the right of the slide view. If you participated as an individual and met all certification requirements, your certificate is available to download now in the CPE progress window. I'll keep the webcast console open for a few minutes to give you time to download your CPE certificate. A copy will be emailed within 3 weeks should you have any difficulty downloading it now. And here is a link to an online survey where you can provide feedback for today's presentation. Please take a moment to complete this survey, as your feedback is very important to us. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again next time.